Deep in the dense forests of Rhineland, a silent struggle was unfolding. Until 1843, these forests were a world divided. The wealthy landowners claimed them as their own, while the poor were forbidden even to break a branch. Their only relief was gathering fallen wood, the scraps nature itself allowed them, to survive the bitter winters. But then came a cruel twist. In the early 1840s, a new forest law was passed, a law that declared even the fallen branches to be the property of the rich. For the poor, this meant hunger, cold, and punishment. Thousands were dragged into courts and prisons simply for picking up wood that once belonged to no one. Out of this injustice, a restless fire was born in the heart of a young scholar, Karl Marx. These so-called jungle laws did not just change the fate of Rhineland's poor, they changed Karl Marx forever. After earning his doctorate in 1841, Marx moved to Cologne in search of opportunity. There he found himself among a circle of liberal thinkers and soon joined the newspaper Rheinische Zeitung. With his sharp arguments and commanding presence, Marx quickly became a rising star. His beard, his booming voice, and his fearless ideas gave him an aura that drew crowds and unsettled opponents. Soon Marx rose to the position of editor. Under his leadership, the newspaper flourished, circulating thousands of copies across Germany. It became a beacon for free thought, but also a target of government wrath. Censorship weighed heavily on every word he wrote. Government censors, uneducated and clueless about philosophy, often failed to understand his writings. Ironically, their ignorance sometimes allowed his most radical ideas to slip through and reach the public. At times, Marx even mocked them to their faces, frustrating officials with his defiance. Yet Marx himself was still far from the communist giant history remembers. At that time, he hardly understood socialism, let alone communism. But the cruelty of the forest laws opened his eyes. He saw how legal systems served the wealthy, crushing the poor under the pretense of order. In Rhineland, 150,000 cases were filed against desperate peasants for simply gathering wood. Marx could no longer stay silent. Through his newspaper, he wrote fiery articles exposing the injustice. He ridiculed officials, attacked the so-called rule of law, and declared that only public criticism, not censorship, could keep truth alive. The authorities grew furious. The Zeitung became a threat not just to Prussia, but even to its ally, Russia. When the paper criticized the Russian Tsar, the backlash was immediate. On orders that came directly from St. Petersburg, the Prussian king shut down Marx's newspaper. But instead of despair, Marx felt a strange relief. He was free from the suffocating grip of censorship. Germany could no longer contain him. He decided to leave, to find a land where he could write, speak, and fight without chains. Yet amid this political storm, his personal life was also in turmoil. His fiancée, Jenny, a woman of noble birth with striking green eyes, had stood by him for 7 long years. Their love had survived distance, doubt, and even betrayal. Marx's temper and harsh words often wounded her, and at one point, he even strayed with another woman. But Jenny's love did not waver. Despite the pain, she remained by his side. In 1843, the two finally married. Her family gifted them money and silver to start a new life. But during their honeymoon, it was all lost. Poverty followed them like a shadow. Yet Marx was undeterred. He had chosen a path of revolution, not comfort. And so, with Jenny at his side, he set out for Paris, the city of ideas, revolutions, and freedom. There, fate would bring him a lifelong ally, and together, they would craft words that would shake empires. The Communist Manifesto. But that is a story for the next chapter.